A heavyweight topic, which can again go hours and hours together, but let's try and see how we can action pack it in the next 30 minutes. All the way to my right, I have, to my right, I have Joshua Chin, who's a Shopify Plus founder, Chronos, all the way from Singapore. And up next, we have Murat, a director of operations at Shopney.
Xin chào Vietnam.
All the way from Istanbul. And then we have Lucy again, who's the CMO and product director of Secomapp. Yeah, this is a global panel indeed. All right, jumping straight up, right? We have thought leaders who are trying to solve a retention marketing problem across the globe. Would love to start off by asking, what are the top retention marketing trends you see in 2025? Would love to start with Joshua.
What's up, guys? Josh here. I run a retention agency, and we work with mostly mid-market brands doing between 5 to 50 million in revenue. I've done this for 8 years, so I've seen how retention has evolved over 8 years. And most of our clients are in the US. We've also got clients in Australia, Europe, Singapore, most parts of the world, which gives me a very unique perspective in understanding retention from the ground up. What used to be a nice to have is now hygiene, meaning it needs to be. You must have it in order to compete. So the previous conversation we heard that you're spending $50 to acquire an order of $30, which is insane. And this is why retention is so critical for first order profitability, but also long-term longevity and profitability of your programs. One thing I'll say, and then we'll move on, is that the future of retention marketing is amplifying one-on-one relationships at scale. When we think of email marketing from back in the day in 2014, if you guys were around then, is batch blasting, one to many, same message, same email to everybody. Today, with AI, with the advances in technology, we're seeing one-on-one conversations becoming more and more prevalent. And most importantly, this is where your advantage and edge will come from. All right, more about that later on.
Next up, Lucy. I'd like to switch the order a bit. Lucy, would love to hear your thoughts on the top trends in retention marketing. He spoke about one-on-one relationship and amplifying. I'd love to know your take on it.
I'd love to hear from you too. In terms of a product director of a loyalty program, we also have insights in terms of retention marketing. To my own opinion, the four trends in 2025 for retention marketing, they are AI personalization, data driven. The third one is loyalty program, and the last one is intent-based customer support and engagement.
Solid stuff. Back to you, Murat. Before we go to trends, right, I would love to know, how have you seen retention marketing evolve, and what are the trends that you see that's happening right now, mate?
Yeah, retention is, I guess, a kind of young issue that is being talked about in the e-commerce ecosystem. Because 10 years ago, it was pretty easy and cheap to acquire new customers. And before pandemic even, the competition was not as brutal as it is now. So it was like really good times, sweet times, you know, like e-commerce brands, especially like from 2014 to 2018, it was the best era, you know, like you just like run an ad, everyone clicks on it, etc. But it was hard time for the brick and mortar stores back then, because the users were actually shoppers going to shop online. That was the first time that you have a big migration, because people were actually newly discovering that opportunity. You just like don't spend time just roaming around in a city and just visiting a shop, spending so much time walking, all this stuff, but you just like step on your computer, click a couple of buttons, and it's just coming at your way. That was the stuff. However, today, as this competition is getting so much brutal, now we are talking about it intensely almost every day, every week. So, and when it comes to the main trend, I guess it should be always focusing on the customer's behaviors and customer psychology. You should be where the customers want to buy things. And today, may I ask the audience, when did you buy your last item? Sorry, from which platform? Did you buy it from desktop or mobile? Can you raise your hands if you buy it from desktop? How many people? 2, 3. That's the answer. Everyone is doing everything is on mobile, yeah? So that's why you have to offer the best mobile shopping experience on mobile. That's a necessity now. I guess that should be a trend ongoing regardless of what you do.
No, that's a perfect segue onto this data that I was able to pull up, right? Again, even in PushOwl and Bravo, we support close to about 500,000 D2C retailers across the globe. And I think when researching, we got this data from Murat. The global share of e-commerce via mobile is increasing. Why do you think this shift is happening, right? Before we come to Murat, Joshua, why do you think that shift in mobile is happening, and how do you see this progress further?
I think why it's happening is I don't think it's as important. I think we're feeling it, and we're experiencing it, and we're living through it as users, which makes this all very cool, because we know intuitively that mobile comes first. The question then becomes, what do we do with our entire marketing stack and our e-commerce strategy going forward? And we'll talk about this later on, but one of the issues that we see is that when we work on marketing strategies, how many of you work on your marketing strategies, emails, ads on desktop? How many of you do it on mobile? Really, a few of you do it on mobile? I do all my marketing on my desktop, on
Because
my laptop.
you're an agency, you do it on their behalf. So
Yeah, I do it on your behalf, right? So, but no one does it on your mobile device, right? So it's really hard to understand what the experience is like on mobile, and so it's important to think about mobile first in terms of
Agreed.
customer experience.
Intuitiveness, right? But we'd love to come back to the psychology thing that you said, Murat. Can you explain this chart on why is the trend happening? Why is mobile becoming more famous, given your Shopney experience that you have?
Yeah, man, I mean, in terms of the fundamentals of trade, actually nothing has changed, yeah? Because people wanted to buy in the ancient times in where they live, in the villages. So the sellers were coming to villages in the maybe centers, you know, opening their kind of tables there and selling, I don't know, fruits, whatever you name them. Today, people are on mobile, and they want to find what they want to buy on that device. Simple as that.
Perfect. I think that summarized, right? Sell where the users are active at. Next up is, I think one thing that we've established is the trend is up and going. There's a strong uptick that's happened over a past decade. But I have a question over here before I move on, right? Is retention marketing overtaking acquisition? Joshua, what are your thoughts on this?
I don't think so. All right, right off the gate, I don't think so. How many of you build your business on email marketing? No one. Oh, someone. One. How many of you built your business on Meta, on Facebook ads and Instagram ads? Probably a few more, right? Okay, almost everybody. No business is built on email, unless you run affiliate traffic and you buy traffic off email lists. Separate question. I think that you need both to survive and make sense of your business. To build a profitable business, you absolutely need retention, but its importance is never going to be one or the other. It has to be both.
I hear you on that. Which is why we feel that retention marketing should be a panel more than acquisition, because we know they've already cracked that code over there. But I have some interesting data over here, right? When I was researching, I tried looking up how the keyword retention marketing has kind of spiked up. If you look at just from COVID, 2020 till all the way till 2025, there's almost 2x jump in people searching for retention marketing, which means people are trying to get it more serious. Most of us over here are building for the ecosystem. If you actually go to Shopify App Store and search retention, you'd actually see 2,451 apps trying to solve for retention. That's 20% of apps in the App Store. Absolutely, man. 1/3 of the people are trying to solve for this one. So yes, it's not as big as acquisition, but it's definitely a great channel for us to focus on. Okay, great. Coming back to retention marketing, right? All of you are trying to solve it in your own use cases. Joshua through his agency, clearing email and SMS. Murat with mobile marketing, trying to build a channel where we retain customers, and then comes bond loyalty and a bunch of things that happens in Secomapp. I'd like to ask, what are the common retention marketing mistakes that are being made? Would love to start with you, Lucy.
In terms of a loyalty program, there are some common mistakes that people usually make. First of all, treating all customers the same. For example, when customer come to your website, they need a very personalized journey, but you treat them with the same greeting, the same product, and that does not make them feel relevant. So you cannot build trust from them. That makes them feel that customers are just a number, not a value individual. So solution for this is to implement customer segmentation and personalization. Offer them the personalized welcome messages based on the behavior, preferences, and purchase history. So you can see in the screen, with a loyalty program, you can have their information, and based on the information, we discover the ways to personalize all the touch point for them during their purchase. The second mistake, could you please turn it to the second one? The second mistake is focusing only on short-term goals by too many discounts. Why many people think that discount can encourage purchase? That is true, but if you make too many discounts, it will devalue your product. And people usually wait for your discount to buy things. So my tip here is that don't use too many discount campaigns. It must be depend on your product and the life cycle, the usage life cycle. If it is X, so don't make it bigger than X to have a campaign. For example, if they use tissue for 1 week and the next week they also have to use, don't make the campaign for tissue weekly. By that way, you can sell your product at not only the discount price, but at the full price. The mistake number 3, running a loyalty program that customer cannot see on their journey. This is very common mistake that some merchants set up carefully, but they do not show the loyalty program to the customer during their journey. So the customer cannot register, cannot redeem the points. So it doesn't work. And that's all about the mistake that we can make during setting a loyalty program.
I think that's great. Thank you, Lucy, for that. It's quite actionable and to the point. But I would love to ask the other panelists also, right? Over your course and experience that you see, don't pass out, Murat. I know we had a good lunch to wake up. So what are the common mistakes you see, my friend, with people making when it comes to retention marketing?
I guess it's a mistake that people make in so many different areas of e-commerce. When they launch a loyalty program that they think it will make their customers loyal, okay? So when it comes to retention, it's actually has little to nothing to do with the technology, unless you actually figure out what are the fundamental psychological drivers for that, yeah? So you need to understand what your customers want to make them come back to your store for the second idea of shopping. That's actually all about retention. And all the things that you actually implement as technology, as maybe like services in between throughout the customer journey are actually the stepping stones for the customer for the next retention cycle to get completed. I guess that's the most important.
Yeah, I think not just launching a retention channel, but actually trying to understand what works and how do you get user capturing the intent.
Yeah, you need to simplify the things. I mean, retention is meaning making someone come back to your store with the next thing that they need. So you need to have a product line that you can sell more than once. It starts from there. Yeah, if you are selling drillers, you cannot sell me 5 drillers a year. Yeah, I will buy one and I will use it 5 years.
Yeah, yeah. Knowing where to do it.
That's very important.
Yeah, knowing where to implement retention. I think that is a great point.
Exactly.
What your thoughts, Joshua?
I 100% agree. I think context matters a lot. You can't sell a second mattress for someone who only has one body. And so it's challenging to think about repeat purchases for businesses that are naturally single purchase in nature. And I believe a lot of us face that issue. Then the question is, how do we extract the maximum amount of value from the list of customers and prospects that you have in your email list, your phone number list, or your app users list? What do we do then? And I think of this in 3 segments, right? Without jargon, right? A segment where people will never ever buy from you. These are the absolutely not a good fit. There's a segment of customers that have already purchased from you and will continue to purchase from you. These are the evangelists, the people who love you. And then there's the in-between. The people who are on the fence, they're not too sure, they've bought once, maybe they've bought once, but they're not too sure whether they love you or not. That's the segment that you want to focus most of your attention and time on, right? And this doesn't just apply to retention, this applies to acquisition. But the same principles apply. The reason why segmentation, like Lucy mentioned, is so important is because once you've identified customers of that nature, you can then create promotions, discounts, and initiatives that are best fit to turn those customers into lovers, into evangelists. Because that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck in the efforts that you're putting into retention marketing. And this applies across email, SMS, and beyond. And a note on discount. Discounts are great. I'm a big fan of it as a user, as a customer. But blanket discounts, meaning, hey, welcome, 20% for everyone. It's a terrible idea. You're giving away 20% of your margins for no reason. You're also giving 20% away to people who have bought regardless of 20% or not. People who are never going to buy are also receiving 20%, and as well as the people that you're actually trying to target. So it's important to start with segmentation and understand where your customers sit in that spectrum.
Agreed.
And then building out actual promotions and incentives that make the most sense.
No, I think it makes sense. It cuts across more than a D2C brand, works for even a SaaS company or an agency also, right? Even we focus on retention. So yeah, probably Chris and I, we can focus on this for the next ShopX edition. We don't make these mistakes. All right, here's another interesting one, right? Retention, common mistakes, evolution, trends, but there are a ton of retention channels out there, right? We just look at 1/3 the Shopify stores building in retention, right? How do you go about picking the right framework, right? How, as a D2C brand, what is the framework for picking the right channel mix when it comes to retention? Murat, I'd love to start with you, mate.
Oh, man, again, it's all laying down to what your customer wants.
Okay, let me rephrase. What are your top 3 channels when it comes to retention marketing that you suggest to brands?
Yeah, I mean, like, in order to track your retention rate and reward them, you need to have a loyalty program in place. That's for sure. And email, everyone thinks that it's actually not working. However, with the relevance, it's still a really decent tool. And merging all these at the channel that customers want to buy from you, which is mobile. A mobile application is actually merging all these at one point where your customers actually want to make the traction from. I guess those three are the top ones.
Loyalty, email, and mobile. Joshua, what are your top 3 picks?
Whatever is easiest, whatever gives you the least headache. In my books, I would start with email. By far, the easiest and most efficient channel to both create an impact and also scale. When I think of impact, I'm thinking of revenue. When I think of scale, it's how easy it is for me to build an audience on that channel. Email's the easiest. Phone numbers, a little bit more intimate. It's going to be harder to build a phone number list, an SMS list. An app is probably the pinnacle, the best channel for engagement, in my opinion, but really hard to build because you need to build trust before someone's going to give up real estate on your mobile device for your app. Right, so that's my thinking and the sequencing of events.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm going to push a small thought onto this. He said about app being the pinnacle. Then it's phone number, it's email. You start with email and you build up. I'll add a 0th layer to it. It's push notifications. Yeah, no personal information, stick to yourself, and it's just either you want to receive or don't receive a notifications. The user becomes anonymous to the brand. So subtle plugin of PushOwl over there. But quickly moving on over here, right? Great. We spoke about the perfect channel list. I think Murat mentioned his #1 channel is loyalty, right? Lucy would love to come to you. Starting point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually, but my #1 is actually absolutely mobile because it's merging, and also you have the push notifications, free, unlimited, at the time of expensive ads. I guess, yeah,
Thanks, bro.
it doesn't
Thanks
require
for
that much, yeah, smartness to go for it.
No, I think it makes sense, right? It's a starting point for it, and thanks for the pitch. Yes, as a brand or an agency owner, how do I go about implementing whatever we discussed right now, right? Over to you, Lucy. Would love to know your checklist for implementing loyalty.
There are some techniques when we build a loyalty program. First, and the most visible way to see is to tailor the look and feel of your loyalty program. The loyalty program is a part of a website and a customer journey, so we should make it seamlessly to the website. The second one is segment customers. Here, it means you should divide your customer into different tiers where you treat them with different levels and reward them with different rewards. The third one is to show points on key pages. This help customer know what is their point and how many points can they get, what are the reward can they get. Display the reward points on touch point like product pages, checkout page, customer account pages can encourage customer a lot to stay with your brand. The first one, the fourth one is post-purchase engagement. We can set up rules based on customer non-purchase action. For example, when they sign up, you give them points. When they do referral or follow social channels, subscribe to newsletter, we can reward them. So by this way, we can boost the continued brand interaction with your brand, and it can ultimate your word of mouth marketing. Some of our customer merchants or KOL, they by just inspiring their follower on some social channel, they can make a lot of money after that.
Yeah, sounds good. Next up is, as a brand or let's say any business, right? I would love to track numbers to see if these are actually moving the needles. What are the needle movers, or how do you measure? Whatever you've been suggesting, right, will actually maximize the profit. Joshua, would you love to add some color to it?
Yeah, absolutely. So what you see on screen here is the very framework that we use for our clients to understand where the gaps lie in turning visitors into customers, and customers into repeat purchasers, and repeat purchasers into fans long term. There are countless metrics throughout this journey, and it's very confusing. It's very challenging to keep track of every single thing. But there are 3 things that every retention program needs to pay attention to, and that's input, conversions, and output. That's all. Input meaning how efficiently am I growing my list? How quickly is it growing? How many emails am I adding to my program? How many phone numbers am I adding to my program every single month, every single week? That's a leading indicator, in my opinion. Conversion rates is the next point. Right? Conversion rates being out of the 100,000 customers that I have, or 100,000 emails that I have in my program, how many of them have made a purchase in this month? Lastly, how many unsubscribes and exits am I seeing from my program? Just these 3 numbers will give you a good sense of the health and efficiency of your program. And then you can dive deeper into the details in terms of what conversion rates you're seeing on your cart abandonment emails, your click rates, your open rates, and all that details can come later. But it starts with these 3 numbers.
Perfect. Murat, this is an interesting slide I got from Murat when he told me that mobile marketing actually moves the needle in all the 4 boxes. I learned this for the first time. I would love for you to expand this for the audience as well.
Oh yeah. So is there anyone in almost any business, by the way? Let's say you're running a Shopify store or an agency or a tech partner. Is there any one of you who doesn't want to improve these metrics? Who is saying that, like, I have enough conversion rate, so I'm pretty okay with that? No. These are all actually doomed to be improved forever, as you cannot go them for 100%, yeah? So mobile application is actually helping you with these 4 key metrics. With the push notifications, you actually have the direct channel, direct connection with your customers, the most loyal portion of your customers. So you can actually squeeze the most value out of them. In terms of the conversion, you have a better mobile shopping experience, which is faster, more convenient, and having a bigger screen area, which is actually the difference in between the videos and the reels that make TikTok what is it today, yeah? Full screen, so it's actually full screen shopping experience in this small device, making a huge impact on the conversions. And also, when you have the push notifications, free, unlimited, the most effective, you deliver them, your brand message, to where your customer's attention is at during whole day, yeah? We all check these notification screens, even if we don't check the apps. So you actually have an ability to save on your marketing budget. Up to 45% we have seen our customers. And merging all these together is actually the center, the hub for retention.
Solid, solid. I don't know if move the needle for the brands, but indeed move the needle in my personal OKR. Thanks for pushing for push all over there.
Cheers, brother.
All right. I think relatability comes only when we see how this has applied and worked for other brands. Here are some real-world case studies to see how this has moved. You spoke about a bunch of metrics, right?
Oh, yeah. So this is actually an interesting brand, a Shopify Plus brand from UK, and selling personal care products for beauty technicians, not the end users most of the time. And it's called Lash Oasis. They have been working with us for the last 1 year, and we actually tracked this case study in the 6th month. They started with 40% retention rate. In 6 month time, they have doubled it. And they have spent $0 on ads. And this is, by the way, very striking, and this is actually the real reported number from our customer, and it's an official case study.
Absolutely.
And they have increased the conversion rate on mobile 75% in comparison to mobile website. So we actually clearly see again the impact of the mobile application.
Mind-blowing to see that. Over to you, Lucy. Love to know how this case study of yours, and what did you do, and how did you move the needle over here?
We have another showcase to share. A Shopify Plus store from Singapore using our loyalty program. And the result after installing Bond, the AOV average order value increased by 80% in just some months. And for a Shopify Plus brand with a lot of order, this is a big number. In March 2025, just the previous month, the store achieved a record of 21.7% influence rate, meaning 1 hour of every 5 orders influenced by a loyalty program. And here is what they do. They use strong brand alignment. The program design matched the brand, offering a cohesive experience. They use simple and clear smart structure with only 4 earning rules and 4 reward rules that drive both customer engagement and repeat purchase. They also design a VIP pack to exclusively offer for their VIP customers. So you can see in the screen their website, their loyalty program, and ways to earn, ways to redeem very clearly. So when customers sign up, they see the program. When they buy, they see the reward. When they have birthday, they receive the points. In each of the milestone they have, the brand follow up and create a very close relationship with the customer and make the customer feel valuable. And in this way, they create a very good connection to the customer and engaging the customer with them. So as a result, the revenue increase.
Amazing, amazing, great to know. Would love to know from Joshua on, out of the multiple case studies, would love to know how have you moved the needle for Organifi, if I correct that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So Organifi is one of the OGs in the space. One of the more, I'd say, well-known supplement businesses, health and supplement businesses in the U.S. And when we came on board, we found a couple of things that were missing in the whole framework that we just spoke about, right? The 3 numbers that mattered the most: inflow, conversion rates, and outflow. But fundamentally, what we had to fix at the point in time was delivery. Our emails were not landing in the right inboxes, and there was a huge challenge in spams and spam complaints, and that was the first thing we had to fix, because that meant that conversion rates were just not happening if emails were not landing in the right inboxes. Once we fixed that, we knew that we had to rejig the entire framework of emails and the program in order for us to re-engage with our customers. And over time, we saw flows improve in conversion rates through split tests. Revenue increased over time. In 6 months, it actually increased by 234 times, which is incredible. But that's what happens when you unlock value from the ground up and understanding what foundations are needed, and then understanding what inflow numbers are needed, conversion numbers, and then finally plugging the gap, reducing unsubscribes and spams. And at the end of the day, they are now generating about half of their business through email and SMS. Happy days, and it's a huge success, not only because of the revival of email and SMS marketing, but it is now a massive profit driver in the business that allows them to scale front end and scale acquisition with a much better economics.
Pretty solid. It was a quite action-packed session. At least for me, it will take a lot for me to digest. And if you have to just quickly go around the panel on final takeaway, looking ahead, if you have to say one thing that people should take away from this session, that would be a great way to wrap this out. Joshua, what are your thoughts?
All right, I'll start a quick one. So we haven't spoken about this throughout the panel, unfortunately, but AI is a huge part of our production process today. It's also a huge part of my personal decision-making process. O3 is out as of, I think, 10 hours ago on OpenAI. 10 hours ago. O3 and O4 Mini. The thing that's super interesting about this new model is that it's multimodal, which means that it's able to process pictures, files, and web research and text all at the same time. So I'll paint a picture. Let's say you have a competitor that you really admire. You love their emails. Download those emails into PDFs or images. You have an internal branding document on what's okay and what's not okay from a branding perspective. You chuck that in. And now you have additional web research requirements. You want to figure out what's best, what kind of best practices are available outside in building out a Mother's Day campaign, right? So you have a reference email, you have an internal branding document, plus a web research instruction for O3, and it's going to figure out what is your best configuration to generate the best possible outcomes in your next Mother's Day campaign, to the point of actually creating the email for you. If you haven't figured that out yet, if you haven't tried that out yet, I highly encourage you to do so. All of the stuff that we spoke about today can be probably achieved like 80% by AI.
No, I completely agree with you, right? This is a, like I said, heavyweight panel. We can keep going all day about it, talking about what's happening in the industry, and the best way to do about it. But quickly, thanks for sharing that. And Murat, what is your final takeaway for the audience from this panel?
An overlapping about the entire, okay. So I guess that would be this. The biggest retention tool is your brain. Use it to understand your customers, so retention will eventually come.
I'm going to get a T-shirt done on that. Lucy, over to you. What's the final takeaway for you from this panel?
In short, I think my takeaway for this is to pay attention to the connection, the emotion of your customers. So I have prepared a list, but no need to talk now. The key word is customer emotion. When you have their love, everything will run smoothly, believe me.
Thank you so much for it. In ShopX, we always believe that it's not just going to be takeaway from the panelist. All of you can actually scan this QR code. I'll move over here, which is actually an AI prompt. We believe there are actionable stuff. It's not just a handshake networking event. We genuinely want to add value. So that's a takeaway. Quick shout out to Joshua for putting this together. Thank you, guys. That's been our time. You guys have been wonderful. Thank you so much, Joshua, Murat, and Lucy.